Well, this would be a wild twist for the Eagles, but apparently there's a scenario where the Birds could trade A.J. Brown and replace him with Mike Evans of all people. And that's not the only shocking rumor or report that's circulating for the Birds right now, as it seems like a decision on Dallas Goedert's future in Philadelphia is coming very soon, and the reports are a little conflicting. But if he's not back, the Birds were just recently linked to David Njoku and Philly legend Zach Ertz as potential replacements. Plus, we also got word that Maxx Crosby is not out of the picture for Philly, while Nakobe Dean to Dallas is gaining steam, and the Birds apparently have huge plans and high expectations for DeVonta Smith. So let's dive into all the latest news starting right now. Well, I thought Howie Roseman and the Birds had made it clear this past week that this offseason, we really shouldn't be expecting any big splash moves, as the main focus for the Eagles is going to be bringing back their own guys and signing them to long-term deals, and if there was a splash move to be made, it's going to be bringing back Jalen Phillips, who, of course, is one of the top free agents on the market. But again, as far as big blockbuster trades or signings go, chances are it's not going to happen. But that said, the one thing about Howie Roseman is that you can never rule anything out, and I mean anything. And I bring this up because we just got a new report saying that if Maxx Crosby is going to be traded, the Birds will be in on the sweepstakes. As in a recent article, SI's Albert Breer revealed that the Eagles are one of 7 teams keeping tabs on Crosby's availability, and that if a trade is going to happen, it might actually come as early as this week, given that free agency is about to start and teams have the most amount of cap space that they're going to have right now. So the timing makes sense, and it also makes sense that Howie is checking in on the price of a potential Maxx Crosby trade. I mean, that is his job after all, and we know Howie's always going to be at least calling when a move like this is potentially available, because who knows, maybe the price for Crosby isn't as high as we think, and the Eagles could get him for a steal. That said, I still think this is definitely unlikely, just given that the Raiders are asking for a ton in return, 2 first-round picks, and a starting caliber player to be exact, and I doubt the Eagles would actually pay that, nor do I think they should, especially just with how they like to build through the draft and their limited financial situation. Now, actually, cap hit-wise, Eagles Eric broke down that the financial ramifications of trading for Crosby might actually not be that bad, assuming that they restructured his deal and cut him post-June 1st in 2028. And you can see here, the cap hit only really gets bad in 2029, but that's also when the overall NFL salary cap is expected to skyrocket because of the NFL likely renegotiating its current TV and media deals. So I guess it's not impossible for Philly to afford cap-wise, but also, in that scenario, you only get Maxx Crosby for 2 years, and it's still very tough financially, just given all the other big contracts the Eagles have on the books that are going to hit hard around 2028 and 2029, plus Philly has other extensions that they still got to get done soon, and again, the price of trading for Crosby is extremely high. So again, I just doubt the Eagles make this move because it'd be really hard to pull off even if the price did come down. But that said, one motivating factor for the Birds that could actually motivate them to be a little more aggressive in the Crosby sweepstakes is if the Cowboys are close to landing him instead, which turns out that's unfortunately a real possibility.
And then the one that everybody wants to keep talking about, and I do believe that it makes sense, is with the Cowboys. Maxx is from that area. He trains in the offseason with CeeDee Lamb. The Cowboys have ammunition. They don't have any day 2 picks this year, but they got 2 first-rounders. They've got enough cash and cap flexibility. Jerry Jones has indicated they're going to be aggressive, and I believe a lot of that aggressiveness is going to be focused on the defensive side of the ball.
Also, in regards to Dallas, we of course have heard rumblings that they could make sense as a potential landing spot for Nakobe Dean, and now we have Jeremy Fowler coming out and saying that Dean is someone to watch as a potential green dot player for Christian Parker's defense.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It's not like I'm expecting Nakobe Dean to stay in Philly. In fact, I'm expecting quite the opposite. But for him to go to the Cowboys would obviously be the worst case scenario. Nothing's imminent though, so we'll see what happens. And circling back to Maxx Crosby also, I really don't think anything's imminent there either. I mean, this whole situation feels very similar to what's going on with A.J. Brown. Like, there's been tons of trade rumors and interest from different teams and speculation about whether each player wants to be traded, but at the end of the day, it seems like neither the Raiders or the Eagles want to move on from their guy, and the only way that they would move them is if they got an offer that they couldn't refuse.
I think A.J. Brown and Maxx Crosby are in a similar situation. Both teams not wanting to deal their guys, both teams open to listening, and both teams have to have an offer that they can't say no to move guys that they want to hold on to. Those are the 2 notable names.
For the Eagles, the price for trading for A.J. Brown is high, and according to Albert Breer, we're talking a first-round pick and another top 100 pick on top of that, similar to what the Packers got for Davante Adams in 2022. However, teams around the league apparently view AJ's value more along the lines of what Buffalo got for Stephon Diggs in 2024, that being a second-round pick and a day 3 pick swap that favored the Bills. So, either something's got to give, or the Eagles could just hold on to AJ. Which again, based on everything they've said publicly and a lot of the recent reports, that's what they want to do. So I will continue to say that I don't think AJ Brown is going anywhere unless he truly just doesn't want to be here. Now, Breer also reported that AJ Brown's camp has done recon on potential landing spots should he be traded, to which I would say, yeah, obviously they did. I mean, like I said with Howie earlier, that's kind of their job. But to be fair, I don't want to just be delusional and act like nothing's going on here. I mean, there's a reason that both sides are entertaining the idea of a trade more than we've seen in the past when these rumors have come up. But again, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, and the Eagles recently have stated that they want AJ back, they think that he wants to be back, and they would only trade him if it was an offer that they couldn't pass up. While AJ himself has publicly said amazing things about Philadelphia, spoken like he will be on the team next year, and reports from Mike Garafolo have said that AJ is currently in a good space. And that's not even mentioning the crazy cap ramifications of trading him, especially pre-June 1st. So I still do think a resolution between the two sides is the most likely outcome. But let's just say that the Eagles do end up trading AJ. Well, in that case, apparently, they could do something that nobody expected. As writer Matthew Berry just put out his annual article talking about everything that he heard while talking to folks at the NFL Combine, and probably the most surprising thing that he said about the Eagles is that if they were to move AJ Brown, Tampa Bay Buccaneers legend Mike Evans could be a candidate to replace him. As with him set to hit free agency, it seems like the Bucs are likely to let him go elsewhere, which, I mean, again, talk about unexpected. Like, the concept of Mike Evans coming to Philly is something that never would have crossed my mind. So interesting that Barry said it's something that he's actually heard here in this article. And you know what? On one hand, if AJ did leave, not gonna lie, it's kind of a cool idea to think about. I mean, Mike Evans is a clear future Hall of Famer. He's been one of the best receivers in the league ever since he was drafted back in 2015, putting up over 1,000 yards in each of his first 10 seasons in the league. And now going into year 12, he still has the ability to be a game changer and make big time plays when healthy. But that's also the problem with Evans, as last year he only played in 8 games and didn't even reach 400 yards in the season, as a fractured collarbone, recurring hamstring issues, and other injuries kept him out for significant periods of time. And the hamstring issue specifically is something that has been a problem for Evans for a long time, and now at age 32, about to be 33 this summer, it's likely to get worse rather than better. Not to mention that even with these health concerns, there's a solid chance that he's going to draw some decent interest in free agency, and I'm sure some team out there is probably going to be willing to overpay him. So I think he's out of the Eagles' price range, and also probably not worth the risk just with all the injury concerns, but still a very interesting idea to think about. But that's not the only nugget from Barry that we got regarding a potential AJ Brown trade, as one other factor to consider is how much the Eagles really do love DeVonta Smith, as they apparently feel that he still has yet to reach his full potential and has a whole nother level that he can take it to if given more opportunities. For example, we saw what Jackson Smith and Jigba was able to do this past season when he got a ton more opportunities, and the Eagles feel that Smitty could do the same, which honestly, I completely agree with that. I mean, Smitty is so unbelievably underrated because of the fact that he spent almost his entire career as the wide receiver 2 behind AJ Brown, and he's also been in a pass offense that hasn't fully taken advantage of his elite skill set. Yet, he still has been able to produce at an elite level. I mean, since entering the league, he's 77th in targets per route run, but he's 10th in receiving yards per target, basically meaning that Smitty can do a whole lot with a little. And again, given more opportunities, especially in this new offense the Eagles are set to implement with Sean Mannion, safe to say he would thrive. I mean, I absolutely cannot wait to watch Smitty operate in this new offense, probably more than any other player, just because of the new route concepts that he's finally going to get the opportunity to run. Like, again, I honestly cannot wait for it. And look, I'm going to continue to say that I don't think AJ's going anywhere, nor do I think it would be beneficial for Philly to trade him, because I want to see him operate in this new offense too. But at the very least, if for whatever reason AJ does get traded, at least we'd still have DeVonta Smith, and again, I think he would thrive given more opportunities. And even if AJ is still here, I think Smitty is going to be a whole new animal in this new offense.
No, I think he continually gets better. I think you saw him have a great year this year. I think you just continue to see him play better and better. And I think that's a tribute to who he is. Guys that are tough, that love football, that are smart football players, and they're talented, have a tendency to reach their ceiling, and God willing. And I think that's what you're seeing. You're seeing him continue to get better. You're seeing him continue to do these things and make plays only that he can make on the football field. And so I just think you continue to see him on the rise, and excited about, what he'll look like in this new offense that we'll have.
I think being here, hearing from Howie and Nick, and again, just talking to people, I think there is a real buzz around what DeVonta is going to look like in this system.
Oh.
I think, Howie talked, or it was Nick that mentioned that his best football is ahead of him yesterday. And I think there is that sentiment that if DeVonta can kind of step into a little bit of a higher volume role in this offense, be featured with some of the pre-snap motion and some of the creativity that you're used to seeing with the McVay-Shanahan system. I mean, if A.J. Brown is on the team, he's not going to get 150, 140 targets, but I think you could see an uptick for him next season. And I think there's a belief internally that there is another step for DeVonta to take, not in terms of his actual play, but his opportunity to show what type of receiver he is in the grand scheme of the league.
Moving on, though, Matthew Berry also commented on Dallas Goedert's future with free agency right around the corner, as he said that he heard Goedert will definitely be moving on from Philadelphia this offseason. However, one thing that has to be said to put these reports in context is that Matthew Berry is not an actual journalist, and to his credit, he says that in the very beginning of the article. He literally says, "I'm not a journalist, I'm not a reporter, I haven't double-checked these sources, this is all just rumors, gossip, things that I've heard talking to people at bars and events at the NFL Combine." Now, to be fair, Berry has been right many, many times in the past with these rumors, but he's also been wrong many times as well. So all that to say, all these reports, including the one about Goedert, might not be true. And in fact, we've also heard reports saying that there's still a chance for Goedert to stay in Philly, with the most recent one of these coming from Mike Garafolo, who said that the Eagles have expressed interest in re-signing him, and the sides will continue to talk in the coming days. But also, because of the A.J. Brown situation and other factors, Howie's budgeting for pending free agents has been affected, and it could change based on what happens. So, as far as I can tell, Goedert's future is still very up in the air, and it sounds like it could go either way. Now, my guess is, if Goedert actually hits the open market, he's likely gone. But there also is a chance that a deal gets done in the next few days. So, I'll monitor that situation, and if anything does happen, I'll be right on it. So make sure you guys are subscribed and you have your notifications turned on so you don't miss anything. However, if Goedert isn't back, then two other interesting options for the Birds at tight end have recently just been brought to light. One of them being Browns' soon-to-be free agent David Njoku, who I talked about in a previous video, but now we actually have a report from Elliott Shore-Parks claiming that the Eagles have interest in Njoku per league sources. And, this is definitely very interesting, because on one hand, Njoku is an older veteran. He's right around the same age as Dallas Goedert, so he's definitely not a long-term solution by any means. And he's also a guy that struggled with health issues in recent years, but at his best, he is a very, very good overall tight end that is both great as a receiver and as a blocker, which that's exactly what the Eagles are looking for. But again, that's at his best, and last year we saw a significant decline from Njoku in what was a very injury-riddled year for him, as he didn't even put up 300 yards receiving, and his blocking regressed significantly as well, while Browns rookie tight end Harold Fannin Jr. fully took over the starting tight end spot. So all that to say, you don't exactly know what you're going to get if you do sign Njoku. Best case, he's a really quality starting tight end, but worst case, he's injured all the time and you just don't get much production out of him. So, a lot to consider. It's definitely a risk. Personally, I really like Njoku, but I would only sign him if it were for cheap, and also if the Eagles made sure to draft a tight end in April, because again, Njoku is not a long-term solution, but I'm very curious to know your guys' thoughts on this. And I'm also curious to hear your thoughts on this next possibility, which I'm sure you've heard it by now, but it's that Eagles legend Zach Ertz could return to Philadelphia this offseason, as the tight end plans to return for a 14th season, even after blowing up his knee late last year, as he's been working hard rehabbing, and apparently he's expected to be cleared right around week 1 of next season. And look, let's be real. Ertz is 35 years old and coming off a devastating knee injury. Plus, he's never been a good blocker, and the Birds need tight ends who can block in this new offense. So there's plenty of reasons to stay away. However, when he was healthy with the Commanders the past 2 years, he was still a really, really good player, specifically as a receiving threat. So assuming he could get back to that, which that's a big if, but if he could, then he could be a valuable piece for this Eagles offense. Plus, he loves the Eagles in Philadelphia, and he's a great locker room guy and leader, so assuming you draft a tight end, he could help to mentor him and bring him along. Plus, he's going to be really, really cheap. And also, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I love Zach Ertz. I grew up watching him. He's one of my favorite Eagles of all time. So maybe nostalgia's blinding me, but honestly, I don't think that signing Ertz as a depth piece for cheap would be a bad move. But again, curious to hear your guys' thoughts on that. One more thing that I do want to reiterate, though, is that if Dallas Goedert simply walks in free agency, then the Birds have to eat $20 million in dead cap. So there's a very strong financial incentive for them to just get a deal done with Goedert and keep him around. And personally, that's still what I'm hoping for. And also, looking at it with the whole A.J. Brown angle in mind, there's no way the Eagles eat $20 million in dead cap with Goedert and then an additional $40 million with an AJ trade, right? Like, there's just no way that that happens. So there's a lot of stuff to consider. The Birds have a ton of decisions to make, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we have some answers here in the next couple days and weeks. I mean, we're definitely going to get some answers with free agency starting up in less than a week now. So if you guys don't want to miss any of my coverage or content that I got coming throughout free agency and the rest of this offseason, then make sure you subscribe and you turn on notifications. And also drop a like down below on this video to show some support, because it really does help me out a ton. Let's see if we can get to at least 500 likes today. And also hit the hype button, because that really helps me out a ton as well. And leave a comment just regarding anything that I talked about in this video. And if you do want to watch another Eagles video talking about the possibility of Kenyon Sadiq replacing Dallas Goedert in Philadelphia, among other things, you can check this out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.